Welcome to another edition of the Tom Green Podcast. In advance, I'd like to apologize for not getting this podcast out sooner. I know a lot of you fans are anticipating this great show, and of course, things happen, but patience is a virtue. And we are here this Friday afternoon on Essexville-Garber homecoming, which I'm actually going to be PA announcing the Garber game tonight. And we brought in an intern from Wisconsin, NBC 15, in Waukee, or Tell me the town you're in again.
Madison.
You're actually in Madison. Okay. Good deal?
You bet.
And he is Nick Osen, not to be confused with the Atlanta Falcons cameraman that I actually went to college with, Nick Gosen. He is Nick Osen, so drop the G. How's it going, Nick?
I'm doing great, Tom. Glad we could put this together and make this happen. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Added you to the list of guests that I've brought in from across the nation, of course. So he's at NBC 15. If you're in Madison, check out NBC 15. He's an intern there, and hopefully you can probably get an into broadcasting through him if you're lucky enough. So with that being said, before we get started, I'll give a couple shout-outs here. One shout-out I'll give, of course, is to Nick Gosen, the Atlanta Falcons cameraman I talked to you about. Your name and his name are separated by one letter, and that's just add a G at the beginning. And also give a shout-out to Coach Blackbourn, who is at Wisconsin. I interviewed him a couple times for the Delta Collegiate. Good guy, so if you ever get a chance to interview him, do so and mention me. Of course, he'll like that. And I'll also shout out one of our new fans of the program, Alex Strouf from Green Bay. He actually sent me a demo tape, and I found it very cool, so I'll have to record with him at some point. And also, you're a Packers fan, of course, are you?
I'm actually not.
Really?
I'm originally from Rockford, so I'm actually a Bears fan.
I'm surprised you are still alive, living in Wisconsin, being a Bears fan. So if you ever make the trip, of course, if ever you make a trip to Green Bay, if ever you go up to NBC 26, say hi to Kelly Price for me. I've actually never met Kelly. I know Kelly through Tori Petrie from the Detroit Lions. They were friends at University of Florida. At the Kelly Price, you ever go up to Green Bay, say hi to her. She'll probably get you an in Green Bay if you ever do so. Of course, being a Bears fan, that'd be tough. I'd imagine.
Yeah, it might be.
And one final shout-out is to my own Garber High School class of 2013, which I graduated in. It is our 5-year anniversary reunion tonight at the homecoming game, which I'll be in the booth for that, but I'll, of course, have a slice of pizza and a can of pop with them, of course. They're not allowing alcohol on the school grounds, which, of course, gets the school ground, but fun fact, Garber High School class of 2013, and, believe it or not, our fight song is a fight song that I'm sure you know very well, and I will play it.
Love it, Tom.
Yep, it's on Wisconsin, believe it or not.
That's a great song. I like it.
As for me, I like it in high school, not so much on Saturdays, but of course, being a Michigan fan, I always like to bring in someone from the opposing side to, do a little opposing views type of show format. That's why I brought you in.
I like that. Thank you.
Oh, of course. With that being said, we'll, of course, hit Lions real quick. It is their bye week this week, so I get to focus more on college, but we're going to quickly go through what happened between Lions-Packers, as I'm sure you're happy about that. I'm actually quite surprised. I thought you would be a huge Packer fan, but thankfully you're not, I guess. Tell us what the reaction was in Wisconsin from the Packers' loss to Detroit.
Well, as it usually is with Wisconsin fans, specifically Packers fans, it was pretty extreme. Kind of like, the sky was falling. Everybody was ready to cut Crosby, fire McCarthy, and it was a pretty abominable showing by Crosby. That was embarrassing. I've never seen anything like it. But I don't think that he was the only issue. I think that there were a lot of leaks in the secondary. There should have been a better pass rush. McCarthy didn't go to Aaron Jones. He should be starting running back at all. And, other than Rodgers making some great throws and putting up a nice stat line, it was just a pretty ugly performance overall, and a solid win for your Lions.
Oh, definitely. And I was sitting there watching the game, and I was just laughing every time Crosby missed. And I wasn't laughing at Crosby. I was just laughing at the fact that this was happening. It was more of an, oh my God, this is actually happening type of laugh. And, of course, in the second half, I was thinking, do not let Rodgers come back. Do not let Rodgers come back. Do not let Rodgers come back. And thankfully, my wish was granted. Rodgers did not come back. Have one of his magical comebacks. And I'll add to your Aaron Jones point. I had Aaron Jones starting on my FanDuel team last week. Needless to say, I was not happy when Jamal Williams kept getting the ball.
No, and the thing is, Jones has looked good and done well enough to be getting those carries. He's shown that he can help out in pass pro, and he can catch the ball. So I'm really not sure what the deal is with that situation. And neither are a lot of Packers fans.
Right, and I'll also say, if you listened to the podcast last week, I had Spiro, one of my buddies, a Packers fan, come on. And my point there was proven that the Packers just bring out these no-name wide receivers and make them look like studs. This time, Valdez-Scantling.
Yeah, I really like him, actually, as well as Equanimeous St. Brown. I definitely see what you're saying. I think with some of their game plan and, of course, having Aaron Rodgers, they are able to do that. But those guys have size and speed. I think they could be pretty legit NFL wide receivers.
Yeah, and I also like the name Equanimeous because that's quite equanimous. But I was looking at a DraftKings board just before the noon Eastern Terry Bradshaw pregame show, because I like to get doing DraftKings stuff ready, and I had noticed this guy was high on Valdez-Scantling, and I'm like, I don't know, I guess I'll go with it because of my no-name wide receiver point, and sure enough, 1 touchdown and 1 yard short of a second one, and darn near 100 yards receiving. So I only double up this week, but still, I guess I better go with a Packer no-name wide receiver.
Yeah, he made plays too, man. I mean, he looked really good.
That's what Aaron Rodgers can do for no-name wide receivers, that's for sure. Going back to Detroit, Detroit put up less than 300 yards of offense, but still found a way to win this game, beating mighty Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay going into the bye. Now, we have Miami next week, and Miami's been, as I've seen on Twitter, a hot 3-2 pile of garbage. Am I correct in making that statement?
I would say absolutely. I mean, that's who the Bears have this week, and, they've got some talent sprinkled on the edges, especially on the defensive end, but their offense has just been atrocious. I believe it's bottom 4 in the league. They're out 3 starting linemen, and yeah, that's a pretty accurate depiction. They have a pretty good record, but not a great team.
Exactly. And the Bears coming off a bye with the defense that they have? Uh-oh. Uh-oh, Miami. Watch out. I am looking forward to the show I'll be doing with Jeff Lyons in a few weeks for Lions Bears. That'll be quite a rundown. So with that being said, turning the page to the big Wisconsin-Michigan game. I'm sure that Wisconsinites had this, or I should say Scotties had this game circled on their calendar for quite a while. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, this team came into the season with, playoff hopes, just like Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, those top programs in the Big Ten. And as you and I kind of talked about in our rundown, both teams know that they want to keep that dream alive. Specifically, Wisconsin in the Big Ten West, they need to win this game, and it would be a signature win for either team.
Yeah, and dare I say this, even though I'm coming from the Michigan standpoint, something's telling me that this is slightly bigger for the Wisconsin than it is for Michigan, and it's because Wisconsin has lost to BYU while Michigan has lost to what looks like a very impressive Notre Dame team.
No, that's absolutely right. I mean, there are a lot of people around here, both fans and media, kind of saying, this game's going to be tough, and if Wisconsin can't pull it off, well, with this schedule and this returning talent, it's kind of a lost season.
Yeah, pretty much. And looking back to last year's game in Madison, Michigan's defense, I thought, actually played well. It was Alex Hornibrook that just threw a perfect game, and that's how Wisconsin beat him. So let's dive into the next point in how Wisconsin pulls off this upset, if you can call it that. I think Hornibrook needs to throw a perfect game. How do you see this? How do you see Wisconsin winning this game if they do?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a top 3 point. You could say he had like a perfect game in the Orange Bowl and near perfect against Iowa this year when they came back, at Kinnick. So that would definitely help. But I know that Michigan's got talent all over the defensive end. So I think Wisconsin has to trust their run game as well. They're obviously star Jonathan Taylor, but they've got a bit of a 3-headed monster going right now. And the biggest thing for Wisconsin, I'm sure you've watched this team a little bit, is that their secondary has to play like a Wisconsin secondary, because now that the Wolverines actually have a really good quarterback in Shea Patterson, they've got Higdon at running back, talent on the outside, Donovan Peoples-Jones. The secondary just has to, A, not lose members throughout the game, because they lost 3 guys to injury last game, and B, they've just got to be able to cover for more than 2 seconds. I mean, they had to go against a running quarterback in Adrian Martinez last week, so they had to hold a little longer for scrambles. I don't see that happening quite as much with Patterson, but Patterson's stronger and more accurate. So they've got to be able to hold their coverages for 4 to 5 seconds and generate a bit of a pass rush. I mean, I think it's going to be a great game, but yeah, Wisconsin's going to have to do all of those things to be able to have a chance to beat this Michigan team.
And of course, what helps Michigan is that it's in Ann Arbor at night, not in Madison at 11 a.m., which even I was thinking, oh, great, here's another game Michigan's going to lose on the road to a top 15 team when they need this win. Here, it's in Ann Arbor, it's at night, and of course, Wisconsin's lost a little bit from last year, but going to what you said on the secondary, Shea's a running quarterback, and Shea's an accurate quarterback. So if Peoples-Jones gets open, or Nico Collins, or I think his favorite target is Zach Gentry, if they get open, Wisconsin, look out. As for the other side, going back to Wisconsin, they're going to have to dictate this on the trenches, I think.
Oh, certainly. I mean, that's, like I said, one of their only chances. I mean, the line will have to dominate on offense, to give Hornibrook time, create those holes for Jonathan Taylor, Tywan Deal. But yeah, on defense, I mean, like we just talked about, Patterson is really good. So they're going to have to be able to create a pass rush to just stop Michigan, because I think we can agree Michigan has more talent on the offensive end than it has in a couple of years with Harbaugh.
Yeah, the big thing about that is the offensive line has really improved since the Notre Dame game. And, like I had said, Shea's good and Shea's mobile. Now let's just hope to not have a phantom holding call against Karan Higdon. Because we all saw Higdon was tackled against Northwestern. The only player I could have seen that call, and I watched the tape 15, 20 times, the hold that I could see was maybe against Zach Gentry. But still, you got to call the right number if you're going to call holding. Plus, holding happens on just about every play. It's just a matter of whether or not the ref's going to call it.
I mean, yeah, I think there certainly might have been a little more than there is usually on every play, but definitely was not on Higdon. I agree with that. It looks like it was likely Gentry if you're going to make that call.
Yeah, holding on Higdon, and he was tackled. It's like Joel Klatt had every right to react the way he did, as did all Michigan fans did that day. So back to Michigan, Wisconsin. What should Michigan do? We'll get to that point. Michigan needs to just control this game. Keep Hornibrook off the field, I think, and light up Wisconsin's secondary. If they can do that and get off to... If they can play well in the first half, because Michigan seemed to play better in the second half all year. But if they can be in the lead at halftime, I think Michigan has got this game. How do you see this from the opposing view, Nick?
I agree with you. I could say the same thing about Wisconsin. I mean, both of these teams seem to kind of work as second-half teams this year, which could definitely hurt them, especially if, obviously, the other one's putting up a lot of points this weekend. For Michigan, I agree. Control the game, control the time of possession, and honestly put pressure on Hornibrook. Excuse me, because he, as good as he is and as much as he's improved, he is not great and comfortable under pressure. So I think those will be a couple big keys for Michigan to get this home win.
Yeah, and of course, College Game Day is going to be there tomorrow. So if you're in Ann Arbor, which I'm 90 minutes north of Ann Arbor, so plus with homecoming tonight, I don't think there will be a way I'll be down there. But if you're around Ann Arbor, check out College Game Day. Make sure Lee Corso puts the Michigan helmet on, not the Badger helmet, because if that happens, then he'll be run out of town. But he's not afraid of that. Corso is. So with that being said,
no, he's not afraid. He's been around.
Oh, of course, he's been around for just about as long as we've lived on College Game Day.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, score predictions. How do you think Saturday night in Ann Arbor will go?
I mean, Tom, I'll be honest with you. On paper, watching both of these teams and just knowing the injuries and depth situations, Michigan should win, but I can't go against the Badgers. So I'm going to go with 27-24 Wisconsin.
You're going to go 27-24 Wisconsin. And who knows how this will be taken on air by NBC 15, but I just think he's saying that so that he can impress his bosses at NBC 15. I could be wrong, but I'm just going to go out and make that slight assumption. Of course, no shame. You got a job, you got to keep it, and I want a job in the business too. So, with that being said, I'm going to stick to my hometown roots as well. I got to say Michigan's going to win this game. They're going to remember what happened last year against Wisconsin, and Higdon's going to have about 100 yards rushing. I think you're going to see Peoples-Jones and Nico Collins have a touchdown each. Gentry will work from 20 to 20. I'm going to say Michigan 31, Wisconsin 17. I think it's going to be 10-10 at the half. And then Wisconsin will actually take a 17-10 lead in the third, but that's when Michigan will be all systems go and pull away in the fourth.
Wow, double digits, 2 touchdowns, okay.
They say I'm bold. I have to stay bold.
I do think it'll be a little closer than that, as I said, but we will see. I mean, as they say, that's why they play the game, and I'm excited to watch it, man.
Of course. Saturday night under the lights at the Big House. It gets I'll say it, the only more intimidating environment in the Big Ten, in my opinion, is Kinnick Stadium at night.
Yeah, I was there for Wisconsin, Iowa, so that's pretty intimidating, as well as maybe Happy Valley. That place
Yes.
can get a little scary at night as well. But yeah, the Big House is great, man, and it's awesome for you and for Michigan that this is a home game.
Of course. And of course I'll expand on the why I say not Michigan, and it's because Michigan is used to playing day games, and if Bo Schembechler were still alive, he would be very unhappy with night games at Michigan. And it's because he's more of a traditionalist. That's why Michigan hasn't played a lot of night games at the Big House. But yes, I do agree with you with State College as well, that Michigan played there last year for the whiteout under the lights, and Saquon Barkley ran all over them.
Yeah, I remember that game, and I mean, you can add Barkley to that layer. He's obviously showing in the NFL how incredible of a talent he was. But yeah, they've got a great student section, a nice stadium. That's another tough place to play, Tom.
Of course. And don't forget Penn State students, Taco Bell student section. You want Molly McGrath to talk about you a lot, and Reese Davis and all of them? Apply Penn State for the student section award. Same thing with Michigan, guys. Don't blow this, U of M. With that being said, as I'm sure Nick is laughing hard inside. And with that being said, we go to the most heralded segment on this Tom Green podcast. And I'm sure you've studied quite well since Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever I gave the list to you, the rapid fire games. How this works, I'll give you the game. I'll give you a minute to, talk about it, give me your prediction. And what happens is the guest with the highest winning percentage at the end of the season will receive some type of little small prize from yours truly. In fact, last year, my drinking buddy Aaron Gosser came on the show. He's a Browns Ohio State fan, and he won the contest, and I gave him a case of beer. So,
I like it.
Of course.
Sounds fun.
Of course, and now that you're old enough, I did see you are 1 year younger than yours truly. That's actually a prize that could be yours. We'll see what happens. But 750 winning percentage is the number you have to beat. That's 6 out of 8. With that being said, we go to our rapid fire games. Our first one, in the SEC, in Baton Rouge, Georgia, LSU.
You going first or am I?
You go first.
I love Coach O. I've always liked LSU. Baton Rouge is another tough place to play, but I think Georgia is just below Alabama on their talent level this year. I'm big on Jake Fromm. They've got speed, strength, talent all over that defense. I think this is going to be a hell of a game, but I'm taking the Bulldogs.
You are taking Georgia. So you like Jake from State Farm. It's Jake from State Farm. But it's Jake from State Farm. With that being said, I also like Coach O. As you can tell, my voice got a lot deeper there as I'm trying to intimidate the man. Unfortunately, they lost to Florida last week, and that was kind of sad. The Burrow wasn't able to get it done in the late minutes. But Georgia's a tough game, and unfortunately, I have to say great pick. And it's because I agree with you. Georgia's just below Alabama, literally just below Alabama. As last year, Tua had to throw a perfect pass, and the wide receiver had to hit him in perfect stride to win that game. And guess what? Damn it, they did just that. Georgia 31, LSU 27. We'll have you do a score on that one.
Georgia 27, LSU 21.
Well, 27-21. Okay. So that being said, I'm sure you liked my Coach O impersonation there. Washington, Oregon.
Again, I'm taking the away team. I like the Huskies. I've always, liked their offense. He hasn't been quite as special since his sophomore year, but I still like Jake Browning, and I like what Oregon's doing. I think it's going to be a good game, but I'll take Washington 31-24.
Okay. I think Oregon's lost a lot of its luster after losing to Stanford, and I still don't know how they lost that game, but I think that's really messed with their mojo, and with Washington being the elite team that they are out west, I think they go into Eugene and take this game more than 27-24. I think I'm going to say 41-27.
Wow, okay, that's a lot of points.
It is, but college football, they play for 5 hours and score at least 50 points, as so it seems, because of commercials. Texas A&M, South Carolina, back to the SEC.
Third time in a row, I'm taking the away team. I like the Aggies. I've always enjoyed Gamecocks football, but I don't think they're quite there yet. I think A&M's just got more talent, especially on the outside and on the offensive end. So I'm going to take A&M. We will go 27-17.
These two teams are better than people think, A&M and South Carolina. I bet you there are a lot of Texans that are saying, why'd they hire Jimbo Fisher? He's got 2 losses and we're only halfway into the year. Well, you know what, Texas A&M fans? This is a great hire. And it's just coincidence that this schedule is probably the toughest I've ever seen from the SEC. And yes, the SEC is the NFL's child, according to ESPN. With that being said,
breeding ground, essentially, yeah.
With that being said, I have to like Texas A&M too. South Carolina, of course, beat Michigan in the Outback Bowl, as Wisconsin probably liked. Michigan did not. A&M's got something to prove, especially after barely beating Kentucky, who is a lot better than people think. I like that score too, 27-24. A&M last second field goal. It may even go overtime. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, but I like the games you picked. They should all be really good games, along with obviously Badgers, Wolverines, if everybody can play to their potential.
Yeah, one of the criteria I have for the rapid fire games is for college. It's ranked versus ranked or really close line. A&M South Carolina went to 2.5. And then for NFL, that we'll have these next few games coming up, 2.5 or closer.
I like it. So obviously, you saw my profile and we've talked. I cover the Badgers, love college sports, but NFL is actually my favorite. So I'm glad you threw in some of these as well.
Of course. But my schedule on Saturdays and Sundays, the morning I'll do some homework. From noon Eastern to maybe after midnight, I'm watching football. The only time I'm not watching football is when I'm running to get pizza or wings or whatever the hell I want.
I'd like the sound of that.
This is probably why I'm 23 and single and have not had any inquiries from any women. Despite the networking thread you've seen, I've met quite a few sideline reporters.
Oh, man.
So with that being said, moving on to Sunday, Carolina and Washington.
Coming into the year, I like the Redskins. With Alex Smith. They've shown flashes with a couple good wins. With that being said, they just got spanked by the Saints on national TV. I think their defense is lackluster. They're really banged up on the offensive end. I was actually just looking at some fantasy stuff for that. And I like the Panthers. I don't think they're, the sexy, flashy team, but they've got a really good quarterback, a solid running back, just a tough, well-coached team on both sides. So I like the Panthers. We will go 27-20.
Okay. As you've seen from my profile, Drew Brees is my fantasy franchise quarterback. In pretty much all of my fantasy leagues, there's 3 things that are guaranteed: death, taxes, and yours truly taking Drew Brees. With that being said, my number 2 quarterback, the one that I take if Drew Brees is taken before I get to him, is Cam Newton. In my 14-team league, I have Cam. I like Cam. Even though this is in D.C., something's telling me these Panthers are good. Especially, they're going to ride the momentum of the 63-yard field goal by Graham Gano, and they're going to win this game more than 27-20, I think, 31-17.
I like it. Yeah, no, I thought about a score like that. I can't always count on the Panthers offense to get up in the, high 20s, early 30s, but I like that score, Tom.
And Washington has a lot of question marks, especially on both sides of the ball, as it seemed on national television. With that being said, Indy and the Jets. Not Benny and the Jets, Indy and the Jets.
I like a few things about Indy, like Andrew Luck and a little bit of their talent, but I think they're in a major rebuild. I think the Jets are a little more talented. I like what I've seen, especially recently from Darnold. Obviously, they're 1-2 punch at running back, and it's in New York, so I think this could be the closest out of these 5 games. It's certainly not the highest profile, but I'm going to take Jets 24, Colts 21.
I had a hard time with this one, but because it's in New York, and of course Sam Darnold embarrassed my Lions on national television, I don't have to remind myself twice about that. I like the Jets in this one, 20-17. I think a little lower scoring, but I also liked Frank Reich's decision a couple weeks ago to go for it on 4th down in overtime rather than punt, because it's my thing. You never punt in overtime. You never punt in overtime. Punting in overtime is losing. And that's what the Cowboys did against the Texans.
You know what else? It wasn't crazy, terrible decision making. And you know what I like? He was going for the win.
Yes.
And in the NFL, that's what you have to do, especially as a new coach. He's showing his mentality, his philosophy. So I liked it as well. And you never know how it would have gone if they punted. So I agree with you. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I think that they have some pieces and are on the up and up, but this year they're just not going to do much. So I like New York in that one, Tom.
Yeah, Jets in that one. We'll see how many yards Isaiah Crowell runs for as well. Going to the AFC North, divisional rivalry, Pittsburgh-Cincinnati.
So other than, of course, watching my Bears, I'm probably most excited about this game. I grew up, obviously, watching, Roethlisberger. I love how talented their offense is. I've always liked Tomlin. But my team in the AFC was always the Bengals. I think it started with, honestly, just kind of their uniforms, and then they had that crazy fun offense with Carson Palmer, Rudy Johnson, Ocho Cinco, Uzada. So I've always liked the Bengals. I think that their defense might finally be pretty close to their offense this year. They have more weapons than just A.J. Green on offense. So I think this is going to be a great, hard-fought AFC North battle. I'm going to take the home team. I'm going to take the Bengals in this one. We'll go 28-21.
This one I've had a hard time on too. And just because I'm not sure if he's one of your favorites, but I got to bring up this quote.
What do you think having a 37-year-old?
We're on to Cincinnati. It's nothing about the past, nothing about the future. It's just right now we're preparing for Cincinnati.
Of course, that's Bill Belichick, not Mike Tomlin, but when that quote was being said 4 years ago, I thought to myself, I have to say that after every single thing I do wrong. Like if I have a bad quiz, we're on to Cincinnati. If I ask a girl out and she says no, we're on to Cincinnati. If let's say I mess up on an interview, we're on to Cincinnati. And I think that's what Pittsburgh is doing, even with this soap opera going on between Bell and Connor and Big Ben and Antonio Brown and all of them. This is a better love story than Twilight. Believe me on that. This is the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, chicks, if you need a better love story than Twilight and soap operas, check out the Pittsburgh Steelers, because that's some high-quality drama going on right there. On the road, I actually liked them this week, and even though I like Cincinnati's defense, the way they're going, division rivalries are tough to pick, and I think this is probably the one game we'll oppose on. I'm going to go Pittsburgh 27, Cincinnati 20. Big Ben to Brown in the end zone as the clock expires, and Pittsburgh is spared its drama going into the bye.
Wow, okay, I like the pick.
And we'll see what happens with Bell and Connor coming out of the bye. In a way, I hope that Connor stays, because I picked up James Conner on the waiver wire on my fantasy team. So just praying that he wins the job. With that being said, I picked up Jamal Charles, though, on that, as a quiet sleeper waiver wire pick.
Yeah, it's nice to see him back in the league for sure.
Oh, definitely. With that being said, Chargers, Cleveland.
Just like a lot of NFL fans seem to be, I'm a little bit on the Browns bandwagon. I thought they'd be better this year. I thought that Baker was probably the most NFL-ready quarterback, maybe Josh Rosen. So this hasn't really surprised me, but I think the Chargers should go pretty far this year. I think definitely playoffs. They might have them in the AFC Championship. I love that offense. I think they can do it all. And they obviously have talent on defense, like on the pass rush, and now back in the secondary with guys like Derwin James from the draft. So, I like the games you picked. This should be another good one. I don't think the Browns will put up a ton of points, though. So I'm going to take Chargers 27, Browns 17.
Because this game is in Cleveland, and it seems like the dog pound is starting to pick itself back up again after so many years of disappointment, really the Browns could be 5-0 at this point. It's just been a problem with kicking. They finally
they honestly could be.
They fixed the problem at quarterback. Hugh decided to finally put in not Tyrod Taylor, but Baker Mayfield. Tyrod was the problem, and I think it's Tyrod, not this Tyrod BS. Tyrod, because that's how I've heard it for years. But besides the point, I like the Browns in this game, honestly. I think Carlos Hyde gets the machine rolling, and here's the thing, though, with the Chargers defense. I'm a Michigan fan. Tried and true, through and through. I do not mess with Joey Bosa. Not one bit. I had drafted Jimmy Garoppolo as my backup quarterback in the Super League, the one I have Cam Newton in. And I had seen that Cam was on a bye in Week 4. Guess who the Niners had Week 4? The Chargers. So as soon as I saw that, I'm like, yep, I'm trading Jimmy G because I don't mess with Joey Bosa. That being said, I think the Browns win based off the running game, even though I like Gordon and Eckler. Screw Eckler in fantasy because Melvin Gordon, give him the ball more than Eckler. But in the dog pound, I like Cleveland by 3, 27-24.
Another gutsy pick.
Like I had said before, they say I need to be bold. Well, guess what I am.
I like it.
Stay thirsty, my friends. And our final rapid fire game, Jacksonville and Dallas.
So I don't hate the Cowboys like a lot of people do. A lot of my good buddies are Cowboys fans, and I think they've got talent sprinkled around. You know, obviously
I should say, ooh, that's rough. Cowboys fans.
They've got DeMarcus Lawrence on the defensive end, Byron Jones, but they just can't seem to do anything right on offense, especially in the passing game. I think it's time to let Garrett go. And obviously, the Jags have a great defense. So as poorly as the Jags offense has looked recently, I think it's still better than the Cowboys. I've got this one a little more low scoring for NFL. I've got the Jags going to Dallas, taking this one 21-17.
I like that pick. Last year in my recliner league, it was a 12-team fantasy league. I couldn't make the draft because I had to work, and it was the only day I had to work that week because I was starting school. Seeing as I'm a cashier at a grocery store, I'm sure you can kind of tell the scenario. But besides the point, Tyler Jacobs drafted the Jags defense for me as a joke. Well, buddy, joke's on you. Ever since then, the Jags have put up very impressive defensive stats, and I every week they get a turnover. I let them know that, yeah, you drafted this for me as a joke, right? Right? Well, that being said, I like Jacksonville 24-10. Zeke gets held under 100 yards. Jason, and we all know what Jason Garrett's going to do on 3rd and 10 when they run for 3 yards. He'll do this. Exactly. Yeah, nice job, guys. Nice job. 3rd and 10, we ran the ball for 3 yards. Yay! Jacksonville 24, Dallas 10.
All right, so we've got 2 different picks. Is that right?
Yep, two differing picks. But of course, I just picked just for fun. So if you win 7 out of 8, you'll be in the lead for the rapid fire small prize at the end of the season. So that being said, that is our rapid fire segment, and of course, as I end every podcast with, do you have anything else to add to this wonderful Tom Green podcast?
Tom, I thank you for reaching out and having me on. It was a pleasure to be on, and I hope we have a great game in Ann Arbor this Saturday.
We appreciate it, and I hope it goes well, of course, on my end, too. So we'll see how that goes. So he is Nick Osen, and this has been another wonderful edition of the Tom Green Podcast.